1. So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining the live Q&A. This is the final live Q&A of the conference, and the theme was the vaccine development and therapeutics. I have the pleasure of introducing the 3 speakers of the 4 that presented in this particular theme. We have Dr. Krishna Ella, Dr. Singh, and Dr. Anisa Kurtik with us, who will answer your live questions. So in order for us to happen, I also like to introduce my co-moderator for this event, Dr. Vibhu Jain. So before we begin with the questions, I'd like to just mention that our Japanese speaker unfortunately could not make it to the event today due to unforeseen circumstances. So just a note out there. I'll begin the questions first of all to Dr. Singh. There is a question for you with respect to elaboration on the phase 1 and phase 2 human clinical trials that you mentioned in your presentation in India, and how you plan to recruit patients for those clinical phase 1 and phase 2 trials.
Okay, this is Sanjay. So your question is that how we'll recruit phase 1 and phase 2. So phase 1 is a simple safety trial. So we have to go into those pockets where this disease is not endemic. So this disease is endemic only in certain part of the east part of India, and I'm in the west part. So maybe in Pune, Mumbai, Delhi, Haryana, we can do a small set of recruitment, close to 150 patients, 150 healthy volunteers. And once we see that our different dose schedules are giving proper immune response and it is safe, then we will go ahead for the phase 2 in these areas itself. So phase 1 and phase 2 is very easy. The phase 3 is the most challenging one because we have to go to endemic area to do this. But in the meantime, also we are working on the human challenge model. And this is a group in Leiden in Netherlands. We are working there. And if that comes out, then our phase 2 and phase 2 will be much easier to do. Because now, for most of the diseases, we have human challenge model.
Fantastic. And another question, if I may, you mentioned about the FBS, fetal bovine serum, and the fact that you need to clean that in the final assay stage, the final stage. What are some purification methods that you're thinking about making sure that you get depletion of FBS?
So a standard guidance is available from the regulatory agencies that in the final preparation, less than X amount should be present, the dose which you are giving. And we have a column chromatography and then few washing steps, and that is basically take care of that. So we are 10 times lower than that limit. So you have to qualify that assay that your final preparation is less than the limits which has been given by a standard test.
Great, thank you. Over to Dr. Anisa. Thank you for your presentation on flexible and smart manufacturing. There are a number of questions referred to your presentation. The first question is, why do we need multiple platforms to manufacture vaccines? And what are some of the promises for the second generation of platforms? What are some of the promising platforms for second generation?
Yeah, thank you, Farhad, for the question. So if we look at the vaccine processes, we do have what we call legacy processes or traditional vaccine processes like inactivated or live attenuated viruses. And now we see in the last decade there have been some advancements and developments of new platforms such as viral vectored vaccine or virus-like particles. And most recently, I think with COVID-19 pandemic, we witnessed the emergence of nucleic acid-based vaccines. So we are dealing with multiple platforms. And most likely we still need to have multiple vaccine platforms because each of them have benefits and disadvantages. So, for example, certain companies have decided to go, even we are in an emergency situation, within traditional inactivated vaccine, because you basically are using the whole virus and you give more chances to the immune system to deploy the multiple, I would say, responses, tactics, so including cellular responses, not just antibodies. When you are basically using virus-like particles or viral vectors or even nucleic acids, you're designing it, today, that's how we do it. We design it to target a particular antigen. In that case, in the case of COVID, we're targeting the spike protein, which we are basically hoping that the immune system is reacting to this particular antigen and deploying the proper response for it. So, but based on the clinical trial results, and that's not just for COVID, we see that certain times there need to have vaccines quickly, which will help to reduce the burden of the disease. And for this reason, we're probably having a more targeted approach. But on the longer term, we see sometimes that maybe other type of vaccine are needed, so we have a better and longer longevity of the immune and the immune response. So for this reason, we cannot today stick to only one platform when we might need to have an arsenal of vaccines. We've seen also in the past that for certain cases like dengue, there was a first generation of vaccine which wasn't as efficient as we were hoping, and then there was a need to develop another generation of vaccine. So I would say the promises of the new platform, to the second part of your question, is that they can help us accelerate our response. So nucleic acids-based vaccines are definitely promising, but we might need to think about how we could design it even differently in the future, using more like structure, what we call reverse vaccinology, more bioinformatics, and develop maybe multiple antigen vaccines that target multiple antigens. Obviously, we are always here in emergency, so it's a little bit more difficult to design vaccines smarter. So I think that's why the reason why we have to keep these as part of the strategy for the future.
Great, thank you, Anissa. And you also refer to decentralization of manufacturing, which is a very interesting concept, a very novel concept. One of the questions that's come in is, how do you then not compromise the standards across the facilities and methods, and how do you assure method transfer across the different facilities when you decentralize that?
Well, so there are already companies that are having multiple sites across the globe, and for sure there are challenges associated around tech transfers. For example, if we take example of flu vaccines, you might have different sites, and as much as companies are trying to keep a harmonized, I would say, and standards around the process, there will need sometimes to adapt and take into considerations different context and environment in another country. That being said, the way that I think I presented here, decentralized manufacturing, is that could be completely different sites. In other words, not necessarily run by the same company. So it's the concept of having more sites than what we have today, where the majority of capacity is concentrated in few countries and mainly with multinational companies. And then that's one option. That's the one part of the concept. The second concept is one single company could have more sites. But could think about like pre-engineered platforms and units in order to keep that standards of manufacturing and then we'll be more like adapting to local environments for utilities or and safety requirements, for example, which might vary from one country to another. So that perhaps is one challenge that will have to be overcome, which means more collaborations also with local regulatory authorities. Obviously, we'll have to see there are certain countries that have more competent local authorities than others. So there'll be caveats to that, but there is a hope that this will evolve in the same time.
Fantastic, and I think, yes, you're absolutely right. It needs a collaborative approach across most likely continents, and you mentioned the multinational companies that could be involved with knowledge transfer and method transfer across. That would be a major challenge. Thank you, Anisa. Vibhu, over to you, please.
Thanks, Farhad. Dr. Ella, there is one question for you from the audience. When it comes to Covaxin, we can see there are a lot of COVID-19 strains across the globe. So is Covaxin will be effective against various strains, or is it specific to certain strains?
It's broad specific. It can neutralize other strains. We have evidences that it is neutralizing other strains also. Not a problem. Number one. Number two, to answer in another angle, even if there's a change in the strain, if it doesn't work, if your manufacturing platforms are exactly same, you can plug in the same another new strain and may manufacture. And that is what is happening in the flu vaccine platform. In a flu vaccine, you don't do every time the clinical trial. If your manufacturing platform is same, any change in the strain, you plug in and make a product. So there are two ways. One answer is yes, it is protecting the other one. Second is you can change anything. The flexibility of the manufacturing platform offers that opportunity. Over.
Thanks, Dr. Ella. Follow-up question, as you might be aware of that in Southeast Asia as well as in some other countries in Middle East, it is quite critical for any to be halal certified. So is anything Bharat Biotech is doing in that direction so that patients from those countries can also have an advantage?
See, what we are doing right now is the monkey challenging sera and human sera has gone to NIV Pune, and they're also checking on heterotypic, homotypic strains. So we'll have more data probably in another 2 weeks. A lot of data will be coming out.
Okay. And another question for Dr. Ella is cytokine storms. It is seen that in COVID-19 patients, cytokine storms is one of the key reasons for fatality. So how do you see, first, I would like to understand in which phase of clinical trials we study that any of the, that is there a cytokine storms or those kind of situations there? So are you guys testing that?
In human, we have not tested in the phase 1 and 2, but what has been tested in monkeys and hamsters, we vaccinated animals. When we are given a challenging at a very high dose of live virus, we have not seen much. And that's the one which is coming as a publication, where absolutely lungs are clear. Nothing like a healthy, just like healthy lungs. So we have pretty good data from the monkeys and hamsters. And but in humans, it might take some more time to prove for us, but not right now.
Okay. I will go to Dr. Singh for one question. Dr. Singh, Leishmania is a parasite, and now you are working on parasite-based things. How do you see different form viral or bacterial diseases? Is it more complex, or what are the key challenges in that area? Dr. Singh, can you hear me? I think we lose connection with Dr. Singh. So I will go back to Dr. Ella with one
No, I'm coming
question.
back. I came back.
Okay, good. Yes, so please go ahead.
So no, can you repeat the question?
So what's the difference between when you work for vaccines for parasites versus when you're working on infectious diseases from viruses or bacteria? Is it more challenging, or how the entire platform looks different from other diseases?
So this question can be divided into two parts. One is just like if the virus or the bacteria or parasite goes inside a cell and it resides there, then it becomes very difficult to attack it. So just like malaria, tuberculosis, leishmaniasis, work is going on for 50, 60, 100 years, and we don't have the vaccine at present. So this is very challenging. But in case of viruses, which is available freely, it is much easier to develop that platform. So this is the way you can define bacteria, parasite diseases, viruses, depending upon how they are available in the blood system and how they are manipulating the immune response.
Thanks, Dr. Singh. Dr. Ella, you mentioned quite an interesting thing that from where we will get 3.5 billion syringes and needles. When it comes to the manufacturing of the vaccine, how you are planning for getting that much of raw material for producing these many doses? Because I believe it might be quite challenging to get all this from single manufacturer across different platforms which you are using.
Absolutely. This is my personal question. I've been raising this for the last 3 months. 7 billion people, 2-dose vaccine, 15 to almost 14 to 15 billion doses of syringes, needles. I mean, not even 20 manufacturers can manufacture also so many syringes and needles. It's good. I mean, stainless steel needles you've got to manufacture. It's going to be a challenging task. So we need an alternative strategy. That's why I said injectable is one of the strategy, but we need a nasal delivery system, like a flu mist. MedImmune has done it. Like that concept also has to build in. If you want to reach the entire population COVID vaccine, then we need an alternative delivery strategy, whether it's nasal or oral, whatever it is. We need that strategy. That's why I said, unless we have the alternative strategy, we cannot have an injectable strategy alone in the, globally. Over.
Okay, and what about the raw materials which you need to manufacture these many doses? Do you see any constraint on that side?
You're going to see that. We're already seeing the problem of vials, flip-off seal, bunks. We're already seeing a bunks problem for vials. So we're seeing that material thing. And fortunately in India, we have a lot of manufacturers of glass vials. So we are safe, not much importing required. But certainly bunks, we import from the West. So there is a demand and supply issues coming in. And I think my feeling is this is going to be continued, the raw material issues. And even the serum-free media, if I wanted, that is going to be shortage too. And fetal cough serum is going to be shortage too. And I think even disposable technology is going to be shortage. I'm already seeing chromatography matrix is a shortage. Earlier you used to get it in 15, 20 days. Now it's taking 3 months, 4 months also. I'm not sure about it. So I think we are facing a problem already. And fortunately what happened is we are a multi-product company. We have other facilities, matrices are available. So we're able to bridge some of the places. But certainly it's going to be very challenging. And it is required for Merck and GE and other companies also to ramp up your production. And whether it is your membrane cartridges, whatever it is. You need to also build your bases. It's going to be a multi-pronged approach. It is not only vaccine manufacture. Industry like Merck and other people also should increase their production. It's a challenging time for all of us. But certainly for us, the syringe is going to be challenging. And the government of India is now thinking, yes, we never thought about that problem before. Now we are thinking, how do we solve this problem? India cannot manufacture more than 300 million syringes. And we're going to face a problem on the raw material. Thank you.
Dr. Ella, it's Farhad Shafiei.
Over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I have a question for you. When you look at epidemiological models with SEIR, where you look at recovered patients, is there any strategy with a big country like India, 1.4 billion, that you would target the susceptible and the infected population rather than the recovered? Would that be maybe one strategy that you may be able to effectively distribute the vaccine once it's developed across the country?
No, Brett, I think it's a wonderful question. It's an extremely good question. But how do you identify? There are a lot of asymptomatic people. They've been infected, but not showing any symptom, number one category. Number two category, who are infected, but no immune response. Symptoms are there, but no immune response. Third, infected, symptoms are there, but the IgG immune response wanes out within 2-3 months. So how do you identify all these categories of people? It's going to be challenging. And our phase 3 efficacy trial strategy is going to be different. So we are looking at the asymptomatic, symptomatic, all sort of strategies. We're looking at a phase 3 efficacy trial in that direction. But that is going to be challenging. I don't think we can concentrate on few people, but I think it's going to be a challenging task for us.
Sure. Thank you for that. And a follow-up question on that then, in that case, how do you ensure herd immunity in India? Do you have a percentage window by which you think that potentially herd immunity can be achieved following vaccination?
I mean, the vaccine strategy is only to create a herd immunity. That's the only reason why everybody's talking about vaccine. Because many people who are infected also, the immune response is going down. And so there is going to be a problem because they are not protected 100%, number one.
Absolutely.
And people are talking about reinfection, which I doubt reinfection is real yet. But certainly what I can see is the target population is going to be a challenging task for us. I don't know, honestly. Everybody is now confused right now. Globally, everybody is confused. So let us bring the first vaccine. Let us see how do we create a herd immunity. Herd immunity, unless you have 75% people are vaccinated, you're not going to get herd immunity. So 75% of people has to reach the vaccination. And that is going to be challenging for the country also, any country, particularly high populated country like India with 1.3 billion. So that means you are not 900 million people has to get the vaccine. So it's going to be challenging. And also you have seen there are many of the vaccine companies which are coming out phase 2 data, it may not be protecting the transmission also properly. So there are tricky issues, some of the vaccine candidates. So I think we are going to see next 3-4 months, going to be challenging period to all of us. But my feeling is, my trust is that we will find a solution. We'll find a solution. And I think we will come out. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Ella, for that answer. I think it's looking very promising, and it's great to hear that an expert like yourself is looking at it in a very positive way. Dr. Anisa, I believe that you may also want to comment on that last point. Over to you, please.
Yes, Farhad. I just wanted to comment on the basically point made that Merck and as well as other key raw materials and material suppliers needs to ramp up production in order to basically collectively meet the need to supply sufficient doses and in general to how we can face collectively outbreaks and pandemics. So obviously, it's always a challenge to respond to unforecasted demand and urgently ramp up production. I think it's the same problem with anyone at the manufacturing industry space. So we have been working closely with most of the companies that have been engaging with us to make that forecast available and engage as soon as possible to ramp up also production ourselves and supply. But I want to mention something that I think it's a lesson learned from past pandemics and outbreaks and even today, is that if there is no key cooperation from the very beginning, like from day one, and that there is a very open communication and transparency, securing particular key raw materials, even I think government presence, as they do de-risk a lot manufacturers, but they have to think also about the raw materials that are needed to manufacture either diagnostics, but also therapeutics and vaccines. So I think there is a need to have better preparedness plans for the future in order to make these type of, I would say, collaborations even more seamless. I think we've done tremendous efforts within the industry since H1N1. There have been a lot of improvement, but I think there's still more preparedness that can be done for a longer term view than in a short term view. Because I think right now we're focusing on short term production by 2021, 2022, but what's going to happen next? How we can secure raw materials for the future, and how can we ensure so that we're not jeopardizing other life-saving drugs? There's a lot of questions, I think, here. But yeah, collaboration and communication is key. We're working our best also to do that and follow the supply demand in this emergency situation.
Thank you for that response. Now, while I've got you here, Dr. Anissa, there's actually another question that may be relevant to this. Certainly around the support of Merck in development of COVID-19 vaccine worldwide. Can you give us some more detail on some of the collaborations in particular? And I think there is one specific one in Asia Pacific. Would you like to allude on that?
Yeah, sure. So I would say even before COVID-19 pandemic, one of our key directions and pillar of the way we basically support the vaccine industry is collaboration. So, and one is really about advancing manufacturing templates, optimizing processes, looking at how we can increase titers and how we can increase recovery so that ultimately we are meeting the cost per dose requirements, and also trying to think about simplification, which I think I alluded before in my presentation. So that was always quite key for us. And in general, we always are striving to support our clients and partners in their I would say process development endeavor with our engineering and application support. For COVID-19, what we've been doing, we are basically, I think, supporting more than 45, I think even or close to 50 manufacturers worldwide. Different level of support. It could be obviously making sure they're having the key raw materials and systems that they are needed. But we've been also been involved in accelerating process development in certain projects. You might have also heard about collaborations with the German Institute. Everything started earlier, developing a platform for adenovirus vaccine and then base vaccine. And then this was leveraged for COVID, which allowed to reduce the process development time dramatically. In Asia Pacific, there are a number of customers that are working to develop COVID-19 vaccines, and now we have a good example here in the panel. Our objective is also to support and accelerate those developments in different ways. I would say we have there's been a public communication about collaboration with vaccine in Australia. And sometimes if you look at the headlines, it's mainly the major companies and front runners that have been advertised by the media. But there's more than that. There's more than 200 programs worldwide, and a number of companies in different countries that are also looking to develop also second generation of COVID-19 vaccine, which are using different strategies and could have maybe I would say better uptake in the future. So that's what we're doing with vaccine in Australia, supporting their contract manufacturing partner with different materials and consultancy so that they can also accelerate their development time. Yeah, over.
Thank you for that answer. Great, Anissa. Thank you. And it's good to see that there's so many projects on the go in different stages. Vibhu, over to you, please.
Okay. The next question I see is coming for Dr. Sanjay Singh. Dr. Singh, yesterday we had Dr. Jerome Kim, and he was talking about expediting the overall vaccine development process. So, from India perspective, what are the changes? What changes are required in policy and regulatory ecosystem to get these vaccines out quickly, so that patients can get benefit?
So, yes, there was a standard traditional ways to handle it, but now in Indian system also they have made some quick ways to walk through it, and especially for COVID-19. But I just get a little bit worried because I also come from the regulatory side in my past life. There are things can be expedited. Regulatory agencies can help to review the process faster than the standard process, which is happening in COVID-19. But it should also not be misused that something which is not worthwhile has crossed the lines. And you might be hearing this debate is going on at US FDA itself because the next vaccine review is on 25th of October. Because if something which is not perfect has gone, it will be going to a big healthy population. So that worrisome point need to be kept and need to be asked very rightly. So regulatory pathways are changing, and these are the time where Government of India and different departments has taken the right moves. But still, I will say this should be a cautious way of going it, because we are not rushing against time, we are rushing against the virus. Because at the end, healthy population is on the risk.
Thanks, Dr. Singh. A related question. There are other life diseases and other vaccines equally important, whether it is rotavirus, polio, or measles. When everyone started working on COVID-19, how we are ensuring that those vaccine production cycles are going on track and there are no constraints on those?
Very honest with you, the situation which has been created by COVID-19, yes, everything has affected. Certain cases, 5%, 10%, certain cases much more than that. And this effect will be seen very soon. And some analytics has come from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation recently on it. But I feel this is the individual responsibility of manufacturers, government procurement systems, international and national agencies, that we cannot ignore those problems in these days, because once we control the COVID, we should not land in a situation where other diseases have made huge mortality. So certainly things are affected, but agencies and manufacturers have to be very cautious about it to keep the balancing act.
what's your perspective, Dr. Ella, on the same question, that how in Bharat Biotech you are managing your other vaccines manufacturing and then bringing these 3 different templates for COVID-19?
I didn't get a question. Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. My question, Dr. Ella, is that you are already manufacturing other vaccines for other critical diseases, and then
Sure.
there are more resources required for COVID-19. So how you are keeping a balance between two so that people don't face a challenge of shortening of other vaccines?
Yes, this is a good question, and every manufacturer is facing the same problem right now. Actually, we have a double-edged problem for us as a manufacturer. We need a GMP facility, 3 different platform vaccine, and 3 different manufacturing facilities. So it's a challenging task. So fortunately, we have diverted one facility, which is a brand new facility. We put it for the COVID. Another COVID, we had a rabies vaccine. We shut down the rabies vaccine. And in the rabies platform, basically Jefferson vaccine, we are now making in that facility. We shut down, which is about something like a $75 million sales product. We shut down the product. We lose the revenue, $75 million gone one time. And that we don't know whether the vaccine is going to work or not, COVID. So one thing what we did is we have acquired a GSK vaccine plant, Chiron Berry, in another city. So we are now increasing the capacity of rabies vaccine there. So we shut down here. So a lot of adjustments happening. And we are creating another new facility in Bhubaneswar that is getting ready. So we are going to be a tremendous challenging task for us. One, we are going to lose revenue of some of the existing vaccine because we're diverting the facility for the COVID. And then we are not taking any money from the government or from any foundation. We thought it's our time to give back to the society because when the countries are suffering with economy collapse, so it's our time pay back to the government. So we are not taking any money. We are working ourselves to pay back to the country. Like ICMR technology, we are not taking any money anywhere. We are trying to pay back to the country. So I think it's going to be challenging. We are affected by rabies vaccine for us, but not rota, typhoid conjugate, all of them are very well. So the manpower is going to be shuffling a little bit, and human resource is going to be a little disturbed. So we are making them to work 12 hours in a day now, unfortunately. So we're telling them, as a citizen, it's a time to pay back to the society. So we're making them to work 12 hours so that 8 hours works in one production and 4 hours they work on a COVID vaccine. Thank you. Over.
Thank you, Dr. Ella. It's quite inspiring, like how people are working 12-hour shift and trying to ensure that all the vaccines which we are trying to bring for people are balanced. Over to you, Farhad.
Thank you, Vibhu. In closing the live Q&A, I'd really like to thank all of our speakers. We've had Dr. Ella and Dr. Singh from India, both very busy with obviously developing their own vaccine work with their teams. So really want to thank you for giving us the time and the audience to listen to your progress. And also Dr. Anissa joining us from Malsheim in France as part of Merck Life Science R&D team. Thank you so much for your time. And I really want to, again, myself and Vibhu, thank you again for joining our live session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ella.
Stay safe, all of you.
With this, thank you. Farhad, with this, we are going to end our 2 days great event. And just to share with you, more than 1,600 people joined different sessions in the last 2 days. And it was a dream to bring scientific community onto a single platform from across Asia. And this was the first time we were trying this platform also. It worked really well, despite of some small glitches. But overall, it was great experience for us also to interact with scientists across the globe, across Asia, and to have great audience coming from all over Asia, from Philippines, Vietnam, India, Korea, China, Japan, and Australia. So, Farhad, how do you see this? What are the next steps you see from here?
Thank you, Vibhu. Yes, I think I would definitely agree. I think other than the great audience we've had across Asia, we've also had some very high caliber speakers within Asia, but also we had 2 speakers from US and of course 1 speaker from France and Europe. So it's truly become a global event very quickly in terms of capturing those speakers to try to really capture the topic in a good way. I think going forward, our plan really is to keep continuing the momentum. Of course, there is no vaccine out for COVID-19, so that always keeps the interest alive. And one of our plans is to really keep the momentum going with some certain blogs and scientific content that will be available across the different platforms within Merck that will be announced soon. Vibhu, just back on, to you, what are your thoughts in terms of how we can move the momentum forward with the conference and the content?
Yeah, thanks, Farhad. From my perspective, there are 3 things. Number 1, we got great speakers joining us for this event. My request to all the audience is that this particular platform is going to be available for next 1 year. If any one of you were not able to join other sessions, please log in whenever you want to, and you can go through any of the content. You can download those in your web cases. Please do it. Please share it with your other colleagues, other infectious disease researchers, so that they can also take advantage of the great presentations from all the speakers here. Second is, we are trying to build a community on LinkedIn with all the infectious disease researchers in APAC, where we will try to share new development whenever there are new technologies or any new vaccines come in. We will try to bring those speakers in a similar way, or maybe through a webinar. So please join our LinkedIn community, which we will bring in the next week or so on LinkedIn. And the third thing is, in Merck, there is one thing which we all are proud of. Our job is to accelerate scientific research. We are always available. Any of my colleagues across Asia are committed to help our customers to fight COVID-19. Anything you need, any challenge you are having, please don't try to contact our technical team, our salespeople, or our marketing folks. They are available to you to help you in this difficult time. As many of you will start going back to lab, please let us know whatever help Merck can provide. We are ready for it. Farhad?
Thank you, Vibhu. Thank you, Vibhu. I think the one last comment I also like to make is, of course, with Dr. Kim, Dr. Ella in particular, and I think Dr. Anne Wiley, their products are very well in advance in terms of commercialization and distribution. So one of the other things we like to do is to keep the engagement going with them, in particular with some live online interviews. And so please watch the space for more events coming up with those particular academics, as well as some of the other academics in terms of modeling accuracy. So we hope to create this educational platform by which we can, as you said, Vibhu, help researchers in not just reagents and consumables and solutions for science, but also educational content as we learn more about this pandemic, and hopefully not too many more future pandemics, but I think the more we learn about it, the more prepared we will be for any potential new risks that are coming into society. So by that, I'd like to thank everybody, Vibhu. As you mentioned, the audience has been fantastic and engaged throughout the last 2 days. And I would say we would like to end it at this stage by thanking everybody again for joining. And please watch the space within our platforms.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.